That mission in Colombia ended up with the rescue of over 120 victims. We meet with him at a restaurant. 6 or 7 of the people sitting in the courtyard area are undercover federal officers, right? So we've got firepower, everything we need to keep us safe. The federal agents come in from all directions. Their guns all drawn, throwing us all on the ground. I said, depends, how many do you have right now? I said, my boss is coming down and I could pay for 20 right now. He goes, I have more than that right now. I said, good, how many do you have? He says, I can probably do 30. I said, great. Not only did I think that traffickers had tattoos on their faces and 3 earrings and everything else, I was 100% sure that they were godless.
So the woman saying, if you're okay with them crying, I'll get you the virgins. What do you say? What do you do? Paul, thanks so much for being here. Here we are. We've been talking about doing this show. It is such an important topic. You know, the first time I heard you speak, my whole body was like, drop what you're doing and focus on this. This is how much you've affected me. You know, hearing these stories, realizing how widespread this is and how real. I am so glad that we're bringing this to the world and talking about it and hopefully bringing healing. I want to know, first of all, how did you get into this? And then the first time you came face to face with a trafficker, you know, the guy who's selling you a little girl. How did that happen?
This was almost 10 years ago. I was running a large real estate investment fund. I was friends with the Attorney General and some other people in that space, and I received a phone call and was invited to be a part of a rescue mission in Colombia. I remember flying down there the very first day. And in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to meet these guys, and they're they probably have 4 earrings on one ear and then one in their nose that's connected somewhere else and tattoos on their face. And this is the image of what I thought a trafficker would be. And I remember walking into this restaurant area. The other undercover agents who were already there had told these traffickers that I was coming to help fund their project. The reason I was chosen to come is because one of these traffickers evidently had a piece of property he wanted to develop into a child brothel sex resort. And he needed some money to build it out. And this trafficker had relationships with a bunch of other ones. And our intel told us that there was over 50 children in this area that were being sold, and more than 100 children that were tied to some other trafficking rings in other cities. And the goal was to have me come in and pose as this wealthy American interested in their deal. So as I walk in, thinking that I'm going to see these traffickers with tattoos on their faces, the first person I see is a businessman. He's in a nice polo shirt. He's clean shaven. He's the one that had the piece of property he wanted to develop into the child sex hotel.
Wow.
The next person I meet is a female. She's young. She's in her 20s.
What?
She was a beauty queen. She was like running in the Miss Cartagena beauty pageant. And I give her a hug. I kiss her on her cheek.
Were you shocked?
For sure I was shocked. I'm like, These aren't traffickers. What's going on here, right? And one of them owned this modeling school. There was another guy that owned this modeling company and whatnot with her. So I sit down thinking, feels like a normal business meeting to me, right? We're just going to talk about business. But when the commodity of your business is children, that conversation gets pretty dark, pretty quick. One of them was kind of a thug. His name was Fuego, which means fire in Spanish, okay? He's the one that set up things between the traffickers, the ones who bring in the children, and the buyers. And so he was sitting there at this table, and I'm going through this business plan with these guys, and it was dark. It was sickening to see that they really believe they could make all of this money at this child sex resort. And halfway through this meeting, Fuego leans forward and he said, "Pablo, I have a gift for you." I said, "Really? What's your gift?" And he leans forward and he hands me his phone. And there's a picture of an 11-year-old girl on his phone. And he said, "This is Princess. She's 11. She's still a virgin." He said, "She's my gift for you, for your party."
What's going through your mind? Were you like...
He said, "We just took delivery of some," and something like that. And I'm like, so it was confusing for a minute. And I realized if we could get these children out before they were ever raped the first time, that would be a miracle, right? To save all of that trauma. Yeah, they're going to be traumatized, but not to that degree. And something he said made me realize he had more than her. I said, "Fuego," I said, you took delivery, you have more virgins?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I have 3 or 4 more." I said, "You're bringing those to the party too, right?" Because my conversation was this. I said, "Guys, I'm willing to fund your project under one condition. 2 weeks from now, I'm coming back down. I'm going to bring a bunch of my rich friends. I need to make sure you have the inventory to make this project successful." So our goal was to get them to bring all of their children to the same place at the same time, right? So I needed to make sure they had the inventory. Well, then when he shows me this virgin and said they had more, I said, "Now you're bringing those to the party too, right?" He goes, "No." I said, "No." He said, "They're too expensive." "Too expensive? I'm already paying $25,000 to this guy for this party. That's $500 per child for a minimum of 50 children. Just for 2 hours in the afternoon with him, right?" He said, "Jefe," which is boss. He goes, "Jefe, you already paid $25,000. You want to F these other virgins. It's going to cost you maybe $2,000, maybe $5,000 for that little one. It's going to cost you maybe $10,000 more." Now, at this moment, I was legitimately mad. Like I wasn't pretending at all. I was pissed because he's talking about these children like they're commodities, right? And this is where Paul F.N. Hutchinson's ego came right out. I've got a $50,000 watch on. I've got a suit that costs more than my first car. I put my hands on my chest and I said, "You don't think I can afford an extra $10,000? He said, "Oh no, Jefe, no." I said, "I want every one of those virgins at my party." I said, "They damn well better be virgins when they get there. They're not for you, they're for me and my guys. You understand?" He said, "Oh yeah, Jefe, I understand," this stupid smile on his face. But then, talking about traffickers, the female trafficker, who I thought maybe was different than the others, she said, "Oh no, you can't bring the virgins." And I thought, oh wow.
Maybe she has got a heart.
Yeah, exactly. I thought maybe she had a heart. And now she only spoke Spanish, so this was a translator there. But I said, "Oh, that's why. Why is she not okay with the virgins coming?" And she said, "Well, they're not ready yet. I have to show them pornography. I have to have them witness live sex acts. And we're going to give all of them some drugs, but if I give the virgins drugs and they're not ready, they're going to cry."
Oh my God. So the woman was responsible for grooming them?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Now, here's what was
What went through your mind? Like,
Well,
it's one thing to see these thugs. But then a woman, the
And
28-year
for her to say, if they come and they're not ready, they're going to cry. And then she said, but if you're okay with them crying
oh my God.
while they're being raped,
Oh my God.
then I'm okay with them coming. I thought,
Jesus.
what has happened to these people where that kind of conversation could even happen?
And a woman, I have a hard time with this one. Give me a second. I'm serious. Like, I don't know. I mean, should we actually even be making a difference between a man and a woman? But it's weird to have a woman know she was a little girl.
Yeah,
She knows what it feels like to be a little girl.
yeah.
So for her to be talking about these little virgins like, hey, commodities, like it's disgusting. I'm sorry.
It is.
Well,
To be frank, it's disgusting for the men too.
Of course.
Because they were little boys at one time.
Of course. Did you, in your mind, like me as a woman, that really bothered me? Like, what? As if it's acceptable for a man to be doing this, but
really
not a woman.
bothered?
I mean, you know what I mean? So I know it's not acceptable, but there's something about it, me having a female body. But what about you?
For me, the thing that bothered me was the fact that the man was a businessman. Because I'm looking in a mirror. I'm a businessman. I find ways to make money to provide for my family. And he was a businessman. In fact, I exchanged contact information with him. And during the time between that first meeting and the time of the sting, I stayed in contact with him because I needed to make sure that he was bringing all of the children and he had all of the other traffickers that were coming as well. And I still have the texts. And one of the texts that he sent me was a picture, a face picture of him with his 3-year-old daughter in the backseat of his car.
Okay, so it's okay to sell other people's children, but not his?
Well, here's the thing. Most traffickers, and I found this out over the next 10 years of doing this work, most of these traffickers, when their children get older, end up selling their own children as well.
Oh my God.
So there's this little 3-year-old in his backseat. He sends me this selfie. And he said, hey, here's me with my daughter. He said, this is why I'm building this sex resort. I'm like, okay, well, why? He said, and then it was super interesting. He said, God sent you to me so that I could have all the money that I want to buy her all the cars she wants. It was all about the money. And I thought in my own mind, when I got that text, what went through my mind was, you're right. God did send me to you.
You bet.
So that I could make sure that that little girl in your back seat never grows up to be trafficked by her father.
So maddening. Like, it's so maddening. I don't know how you can keep your cool. I don't know how you did that.
Well, on that, I was just texting, and I was thinking in my mind, you're right. God did send me. Now, what's interesting on that subject, and we're talking about traffickers, okay? Yeah. That was the first time that the word God came into the conversation. I thought, that was super odd, because not only did I think that traffickers had tattoos on their faces and 3 earrings and everything else, I was 100% sure that they were godless.
So the woman saying, if you're okay with them crying, I'll get you the virgins. What do you say? What do you do?
Well, first of all, I was appalled at the fact that there wasn't a bit of compassion towards these children. She was more worried that me and my guests would be concerned about these children crying while they were being abused. I said, you know what? Yeah, we're okay with that. I said, you better bring all of them, every one of them. Do you understand? I will pay for it. And at this point, I was concerned because it was going to be a couple weeks with the guys meeting with the U.S. Embassy and everything else to set it up. So I said, here's the deal. I'll pay you extra money right now if you guarantee that nobody touches them over the next 2 weeks. And I pointed at the girl and I said, I don't even want you to show them pornography or sex acts.
That was a good thing.
Bring them raw.
Wow.
right? So to her, it seemed like I was being just evil, that I
Right.
wanted them to cry. To me, it was, don't put them through this hell. Because I'm sickened by the fact that it's going to take a little while for us to set this up, and those children are in your clutches right now. And so 2 weeks later, these guys showed up with 54 children.
Wow.
Almost every one of them were under the age of 16 years old. Some were taken from other countries. And we put the children in this little palapa area separate. We're sitting there with the traffickers, negotiating this deal. And the guy by the name of Edouard, he was the businessman. He stands up and he said, Pablo, I have to show you the gifts that I brought you. So he was now taking credit for the gifts, not this fuego, right? He said, let me show you the gifts that I brought you. And he went in the house where the children are. And within a few minutes, you could hear a couple of the children crying. They were so scared. They thought this was it. And about 10 minutes later, he came out and he had 4 virgins, 3 little girls and 1 little boy.
Oh my God.
This little boy was 11. I was told he was taken from Haiti. He was given cocaine that morning because he was so scared it was going to hurt. What kind of effed up monster thinks that that's attractive in any way? I'm sitting on a chair just like this. They bring these kids out. And this little girl, the same one he showed me in the picture on his phone, 11 years old, standing in front of me. She had long braids. She had a little kitty on her shirt. She was looking at me with this fear in her eyes, and I took her hands and they were shaking, and I said, ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? She didn't answer because I'm sure that her real name wasn't Princess. She was trying to figure out what she should say. And I said, Está bien. It's okay. I couldn't break character, you know. I was so glad it was us there and not some monster. What would have happened to that child if it was a real pedophile that was there? And I told the traffickers, I said, you know what? We're not ready for the party yet. We still need to talk. Send the girls back inside. Send these kids back inside. But that was my moment of transformation. That was the first time that I saw a trafficked child and looked her in the eyes. And that changed my whole life.
It's like I have no words. You know, every time you tell these stories, I'm just so blown away. I'm so heartbroken. So, you know, going back to these traffickers, how do you become a trafficker? Do you come from a broken home? You know, you're on the streets, you get entangled with the gangs. Like, how does that work? Are there different types of traffickers? You just mentioned businessmen. That's weird.
Yeah. The answer is yes, 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 and yes. There's traffickers that come from all types of backgrounds. This will shake your reality a little bit. One of our operations, our informant was the drug lord in the area.
Oh boy.
Okay? He was the head of the cartel in the area.
Yeah.
And he said, you may not agree with how I do business, but I've got children of my own. And those guys are evil. And I'm going to kill them. And if I do, you have a whole bunch of children and you don't know where they are.
I know it takes you, what, a couple of weeks to set up a sting, right?
Sometimes longer.
Right, right. So when you go the first time, you know, to meet the traffickers and see if they have the goods or what have you, and you tell them, hey, I'm coming back in a couple of weeks with my friends. I want you to bring as many kids as you can. You know, the audience or somebody listening to this might think, oh, are we in a strange way encouraging them to go find more children? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's important to understand that we never tell the traffickers, go get as many children as you can. That would encourage more trafficking.
Right.
That would be the worst way to do it. In fact, the very first rescue mission that I told you about, where they brought those 54 children, we already knew that they had 50 children.
The intel.
Yeah, our intel beforehand told us
Right.
that they had those 50 kids. And they told us themselves while we were sitting there at that restaurant that very first day, yep, this is how many we have. Our goal was to get them to bring all of the ones they had. And so multiple times I said, I need you to bring your current inventory, right? The inventory. And even the virgins. We didn't push that issue until he said we already took delivery of some. Okay, so those ones were already there.
Right.
And those were the ones that we needed to make sure that we brought in. On these undercover missions, it is so important that we don't ever create trafficking. So what will happen is we'll start out with what I call a level 1 trafficker, okay? The different levels of traffickers, this is how I define them. Level 1, they're the guys at 2 in the morning selling drugs. They're not gonna get arrested, but they have access to the guys who are selling kids. The level 2, they're pimps. They're selling women, meaning they're trafficking women, they're controlling them, and they have access to children. The level 3 are the ones who physically control the children. That's where we want to get to, because we need them to take us to where they're holding the children so that we can geotag that location and the feds can come in and do a sting, or we get them to bring the children to us so that we can then do that sting and do that rescue mission, just like we have some of the other ones.
And you can't get to a level 3 directly? Is that the process?
It's very, very difficult
Right.
to walk into a city and say, okay, I'm going to go figure out who actually is holding the children in the cells.
Right.
That doesn't happen. You've got to build a relationship and a level of trust with some very bad people in order to get there. And that's the tricky tightrope, right? How do you build a level of trust without, getting high on cocaine, without, in fact, we have to tell them this. We say, listen, my boss will kill me and my whole family if I taste the candy before the party. But I have to verify you have the candy. So, I'll pay you $100 to take me to where you're holding the candy, right? So we have to have enough of a relationship with them there
Sure.
to be able to get them to take us to where they're keeping the kids.
That makes sense.
And of them, on the male-female ratio,
Right.
That level 1, almost all of them are men.
Men.
Yeah, that's a dangerous area of town. They're doing dangerous things. Once you get to that level 2 of the pimps, it's about 75 to 80% of them that I have found are men. 20-25% of those pimps are madams.
Wow.
And that was super surprising that you would have even, one out of every 5 of those would be a girl that was pimping other girls. And almost all of them were prostitutes themselves, who were trafficked themselves when they were young. It's the only life they know.
Of course, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Now, here's what's staggering. When you get to the level 3, these are the ones that are physically controlling the children. This is the supplier. These are the ones that have the children locked up or at their house or whatnot that are selling those kids. When you get to that level 3, more than half of them are women.
That doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah.
Who was the most dangerous trafficker you came face to face with?
Oh, there was a lot of them that were dangerous, but there was one in particular. In fact, there was 2 of them together. And we were in an undisclosed city in Latin America. The federal police had called us and said, there's a bunch of trafficking that's going on in this area. We'd like you to figure out where it's coming from. So 2 days later, I'm there with my team. And we start talking to these guys that are on the street and saying, hey, our boss is wanting us to set some stuff up. All of them direct us to one guy. I'm going to call him Diego, right? I'm just going to call him Diego because I don't want to say his real name because I might get shot. Okay, so...
No, Diego is level 2.
He's a level 2. Okay. No, he's kind of a level 3, but he's a dangerous one. So now this guy is 6'3". He's got dark hair, a beard, mustache, and had killed people. Guarantee, everybody said this guy runs the city. He runs the city. So when we first met him, you could feel this dark energy. Diego calls me and he goes, Pablo, can we meet? I said, yeah, we want to meet. And let's meet. So we meet him at this pre-disclosed place, and he gets in the car with us. And I said, are we going to go see some more girls? I'll pay you some more money if you can show us where you're keeping the girls. And he goes, oh no. He said, you know I'm the king, right? I said, what? He said, I'm the boss. I said, oh yeah, it's very obvious that you're the boss of this whole city. He said, every boss has a boss.
Ouch.
And I'm taking you to see my boss. He's in charge. He's in charge of this city all the way down to this city. His family's in charge of most of Mexico. I said, who's his family? He said, his uncle is El Chapo.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. Okay. And he said, we're going to meet at this parking lot. I says, a public parking lot? He says, yeah, it's good. So we pull in, get out of the car. This guy is obviously man in charge. He's got $2,000 shoes on. He's got multiple bodyguards, guys with guns on us in multiple places around this, behind that building, behind that tree, etc.
So what are you, like in a parking lot?
In parking lot area, kind of just.
And you have guys with guns?
I've got guys with guns in multiple places.
Oh my God.
And we could tell there was at least 3 there. So we get out, and he said, I hear you're looking for a party. I said, I hear you can provide what I'm looking for. He said, how many do you want? I said, depends. How many do you have right now? I said, my boss is coming down, and I could pay for 20 right now. He goes, I have more than that right now. I said, good. How many do you have? He says, I can probably do 30. I said, great. He said, how much are you going to pay? I said, I'll pay you $200 each. I only need a couple hours in the afternoon, whatever. He goes, no, you're going to pay me $500 each. And I'm like, why would I pay you $500 when I'm already, I could go to Cancun, Mexico. I could fly up to Mexico and go to Cancun and pay $200. He goes, no. He says, how old were the ones in Cancun? Because I told him we just had a party there, which we did, right? We had one like a year before. I said, well, they were 14, 15 years old. He said, all of mine are under 13.
Wow.
I said, you're right. We'll pay $500 each for those. I said, now I'll pay you $2,000 for 0 kilometers. Now, this is a term that I learned from other traffickers. That's an undercover way of saying virgins, right? I said, do you have any 0 kilometers that are available right now? He goes, oh, yeah. He said, but you're going to pay me $5,000, and that's for the little fat ones. Is this kind of energy back and forth.
Right,
and I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of done with this guy's ego right here. And I said, tell you what, I will do the same deal with you that I did with Diego. I said, I'll pay you $100 for each one that you show me. You take me to wherever they are. If you have 10 of them there, whatever, you take me to where they are. I'll pay you $100 for each one that you show me so I can verify you have them. He goes, nope. You're going to pay me $2,000 right now. I said, why would I pay you $2,000 right now? If you told me you're showing up with cocaine at my party, how do I know that you're actually going to show up with it? How do I know you can provide what you say you can provide? He gets in my face. He said, you ask any MRFer in this city if I can provide what I say I can provide. He said, listen to me carefully. All of the people you spoke to on the streets, they all work for me. The police, they all work for me.
Oh my God.
So he says, and you're going to pay me $2,000 right now. Now, at this point, I'm kind of pushing against him. And it works with me already coming from a guy with somewhat of an ego, right? If I was a little government worker and worried about whatever, I'm like, no, I'm going to pay you $200. I'm doing this business deal with this horrific monster. And I'm realizing, okay, we're in a dangerous place. I told him, I like you. I lied about that. I said, I like you. I said, I'm going to go get the money. I don't have it right now, but I'll be back here in about 2 hours. And I'll have it all for you. And if you can show me so I can verify what you say you have, that's great. Otherwise, I'm just going to bring you the money. He goes, okay. So we make sure we're not being followed. I go back to the safe house. I have a bunch of cash there. I get some extra cash, about $2,500. And we go back and we show up. And this time, we could count at least 8 people that had eyes on us,
Wow.
standing behind a building, behind a car, etc., that all had guns. No doubt about it, they were all carrying. And we get out, and he said, "You have my money?" I said, "Yeah." Pull out the money, $2,000 right now. As soon as he's got the money right there, then he said, "Give me your business card." Now, this is when you're getting to that level, they're testing you, right? You've got to figure out how to not get shot, just like the night before, right? He said, "Give me your business card." And I pull out my card. Now, fortunately, I had it all set up. I'm not Paul Hutchinson, I'm Paul Stone. I don't live in Utah, I live in Southern California. I don't run Bridge Investment Group, I run Paul Stone Capital. I had a fake web page, a Facebook page, I had an address, everything was all tied to it. He takes my card and he says, "Tell me your phone number." As he's looking at my business card, right? If I didn't have my undercover number memorized, we would have been shot, right? In fact, they had been testing me for over a day already, right? So I tell him my phone number, boom. And then he said, "Show me your phone." So I take my phone out of my pocket and show it to him. He takes out his phone and he dials my phone number that's on my business card. If his number hadn't showed up on my phone right there, I wouldn't be here today. I guarantee it.
Wow.
So sure enough, I had everything routed in a way where it was showing up on my phone. And his phone number shows up and he smiles. He said, "Okay, I want you to download an app called Wicker. From now on, we only communicate via this app." And then he said, "Okay, now come with me." And we walk over and there's this black truck and it's lowered with beautiful rims. I mean, you must have paid $5,000, $10,000 for the rims alone on this truck. And he opens up the back doors and there's these 3 little girls that were sitting there. And then I said, "Yep, that's what my boss wants." He said, "Good, I got lots of them." So we go back to I pay him some extra money for that. We go back to the safe house, make sure that we're not being followed. I type up a full report for the head of the federal police, send it in, I go to bed. The next morning, I wake up, I had 9 missed phone calls from the head of the federal police. He said, I called him back, I said, "What?" He said, "Get out." I said, "Get out?" He goes, "We have been working for 3 years to get in touch with that trafficker. 3 years. All of my guys, we have never," he said, "You got his phone number in less than 24 hours. He said, "He's not connected to the Sinaloa cartel and the that whole gang." He said, "However, he does run all of the trafficking and all of the drugs for this entire region."
Wow.
He said, "We don't have the manpower to protect you.
Wow.
Get out." So we were on the next plane. We're out of there. I'm connecting with this guy just on text back and forth.
Why? Because they were going to go in?
When we go into a country, the local police don't know we're there because you don't know who to trust. Right? So it's the head of the federal police. It's usually the president that knows that we're in town. And he said, "We don't trust any of the," he says, he was right. The local police probably do work for him.
Oh, I see.
And so we had to get out, and I texted him. I'm like, "Hey, my boss told me we got to go back to the U.S., and so we're texting back and forth, and we set up the sting, and these guys flew 70 federal officers from the capital city of that country.
Did they get him?
Oh yeah. So we leave the country. I'm texting him. I said, "Hey, sorry, my boss needed me back in the U.S." I said, "But we're going to be there in about a week. Are you good? When can you provide all of the inventory that you have right now?" He goes, I'm good."
Because the federal police needed time.
They needed time to fly all their guys in and to set everything up.
Okay.
So we fly back in. Now I've got top cover, right? We meet with him at a restaurant. 6 or 7 of the people sitting in the courtyard area are undercover federal officers, right? So we've got firepower, everything we need to keep us safe. And then he shows up at this party with these 24 children. Now, he represented more all throughout that entire region. But he shows up with all these kids. The federal agents come in from all directions. Their guns all drawn, throwing us all on the ground. Now, I told the federal agents, I said, "Listen, this guy has to think that I'm going to jail forever. no, this is a super dangerous dude. And so throw me on the ground, make sure that I'm, that he thinks I'm going down. And so the federal agent who's on the back of me, I've got a boot on my back and an M16 in his hand pointed at me, right? I've got full automatic weapons there on my, and I'm getting handcuffed. And I turn over and I yell at him. And I said, you told me that the police worked for you. You told me you had this covered. I said, why am I getting arrested? And he said, these are feds, they're not mine. And the federal agent who was on top of him had a taser and went like this. He said, shut up. And he went, oh. And watching the trafficker get tased, that was the best part of the whole mission. I'm like, I had to turn my head so he wouldn't see me laughing.
Oh my God.
I'm like, do it again, right? So those guys got life in prison.
Wow.
And
but I mean, you were able to catch like one of the biggest criminals in the country.
He was super dangerous criminal. And if I didn't, in that testing procedure,
right,
memorizing my phone number, all of that stuff put together, he would not be in jail today. And I would probably be shot.
So the guy got life in prison, yay. What happened to the kids?
If the parents reported them abducted, then the parents get them back. It's super easy to find them. If they didn't, sometimes the parents were involved. Or in many situations, there wasn't parents at all. And so taking them out of hell and putting them into another hell is doing them a disservice. And so our goal is to find a healthy family for them. We've worked with a number of different foundations that help these children get adopted or put them into a healthy situation. So the safe houses is where we put the majority of our money. The pulling them out of hell, that first rescue is the easy one. Yes, it's dangerous. It's the most dangerous one, but it's the easy one. The next 5 or 10 years of working through those challenges with that child, that's the real rescue.
So at the end of the day, these groups, these level 1, level 2, like, do they work together? Is this like a system they have in place? Or, I mean, I can imagine they could maybe turn against each other. Is that possible? How does that work?
Yeah, we've actually had 4 different traffickers who have been shot. And a couple of them I know for sure died. I think all 4 of them died while we were doing the undercover work.
So they were shot by
other traffickers.
What?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Because it's a competition thing. When we go into a city, if all we do is just work our way up to this first level 2, level 3 guy, and we take down that operation, yes, we rescue all those kids, but immediately the other ones are going to fill in. And trafficking will pick up the next day with other kids that are filling that demand. So we're like, okay, we've got to make a powerful impact in this city. So we'll go in and we'll connect with multiple traffickers. And we'll tell them, yeah, our boss wants to have this party with, more than just the 4 kids that you have right now.
You mean multiple level 1s?
Yeah, no, multiple level 2s and 3s.
Oh.
Right? Usually the level 1 guys have access to multiple level 2s. They'll say, yeah, here's this guy, Nestor, he can sell kids, and here's this guy, Fuego, he can sell kids and whatever. And so we make that relationship with those level 1 guys, and then we have access to 2 or 3 level 2s. And then we find out, and a lot of times those level 2s are getting their kids from the same supplier, the same level 3, but some of them are different ones.
So they've got to be in competition.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this is a cutthroat business with very broken people that are willing to kill each other for the money. So I'm not surprised that we've had traffickers beat each other up and even shoot each other while we were doing the work.
How do we resolve this?
For the last 10 years in doing the undercover work, I thought there's got to be a better way. Because just pulling the kids out, put this guy in jail, pulling the kids out, I have to figure out how somebody got to that point. So my answer to your question surprises people, and It makes some people mad, okay? People ask me, Paul, how can you go face to face with somebody selling you a child and not have them see the anger and the hatred in your eyes? It's a valid question. And my answer is this: I don't hate them. Now, I don't sympathize with them either. Don't get me wrong. I put my life in danger to assure that those children have a safe place to sleep at night, to assure that that person never harms innocents again. I put my life in danger for that. I get mad when somebody said, oh, you're a pedophile sympathizer. No, I can look at this from a place of compassion. And I can say, okay, what I wish more than anything is that I could go back 5 or 10 years before that trafficker ever got to the point where he thought that it was okay to sell a child, and figure out what was going on in his or her life that made them take that detour, and figure out how to help them resolve whatever anger they were holding on to, or the greed that was making them do things that were out of integrity. Now, we don't have a time machine. We can't go back 5 or 10 years. But what we do have is hundreds of millions of people who are living life in a low vibration, living life out of integrity, making decisions when it comes to money that they are sacrificing whatever moral compass they started with, and somehow help them see a better way.
Paul, you are in a room with 50 pedophiles, 50 traffickers right there in front of you. And you have the option to have a gun with no retribution whatsoever, or a microphone. What would you do?
If I had the microphone and they had to listen, and I knew they were all going to jail after, then I would take the microphone. The old version of me would have taken the gun. And every time I saw one of those children looking at me in the eye, so scared, that gun would have been the best option. They're wasting my oxygen when they're selling a child like that. But now, after 10 years, and seeing where this is all coming from, I would take that microphone. And the next 60 minutes would be the most transformational 60 minutes of their life.
Would you say?
I would take them into the pit of hell. I would tell them the pain. I would walk them through the pain of the children. And I would show some compassion and tell them, I know that every single one of you are holding on to pain, to darkness, to things that happen to you. And I know that you're super ashamed as to what happened. Now, you're still going to jail. That's what I tell them. And I'm going to ensure that you never hurt innocents again. But as part of this, I believe there's light inside of you somewhere. People say, no, they're completely dark. They've crossed that line. No.
And will they get it?
Will they get it? I don't know. Here's the thing. What if only one of them do? Right? What if only one of them feel that pain, feel that here's the thing. We all need to get to the point in our life where we can feel true empathy for the people that we have hurt. The transformational time in my life had nothing to do with me doing illegal things. But The transformational time in my life was this. It was in a guided meditation. It was a very deep spiritual experience. And in that space, I was able to feel with every cell of my body, I was able to feel the pain of my children when I cheated on their mom, right? Now, I wasn't selling kids, but I wasn't acting as a man of integrity, right? That is, every one of us have things in our life that we're ashamed of. But if we continue in this energy of shame and guilt and everything else, then it'll just eat us. So I had to feel it. I had to really feel their pain. It's different than me just feeling guilty for years and years and years. By me truly feeling the pain of my kids when I cheated on their mom, then I was able to look at myself and say, Paul, who are you? And who do you want to be? And what kind of an example do you want to set for your kids and for the rest of the world? And so, yes, I haven't lived a perfect life either. For any of us to ever judge another human being, there's a 100% chance that we don't have all of the facts. I don't know. I don't know if that guy was raped as a child. I don't know if his father beat him for years. He probably did. It still doesn't justify his actions, but I can approach him from a place of compassion, and I can ensure that he goes to prison from a place of compassion.
I mean, that's true healing, when you are able to look at yourself and really find the truth within you and feel the pain that you have inflicted on others. I mean, that's where healing begins. Imagine if those guys were able to do something like this. I mean, I really feel this is how we're going to heal ourselves. This is how we're going to heal humanity. If this civilization, this society has any chance, is through healing. I mean, what else? I think we have lost our way. And I really feel that these stories, these conversations will help awaken us, go back, look within and say, if I hurt someone, anyone, I may not be conscious of it. It's okay. I will start with forgiveness, forgiving myself for having done that, inflicting any sort of pain on another. Forgiving myself will bring healing to myself, will just help me find self-love. We cannot heal this civilization, this society, if we don't know how to love ourselves. And so I'm just so grateful to you. Thanks for your time. And let's do it again.
Thank you.
Wow. This was very eye-opening. I had no idea there are levels and businesses, and this is a very important and disturbing issue that we need to address on a global level. We need to awaken and heal from this problem. So I hope by you tuning in, you will begin the healing. Thank you so much for joining us today, and hope to see you next time.
Subscribe.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. There's so much more I'd like to dive into, but unfortunately, we can't do that here thanks to the heavy censorship efforts from big tech. If you want to explore this topic further, you can dive deep by accessing our entire uncensored library on unified.tv. There's a link in the description below this video if you want to check it out. A membership to Unified TV gives you unlimited access to hundreds of uncensored podcasts, investigative journalism, documentaries, films, and content that was once available on major streaming platforms like Netflix, but is now banned from the internet. For just $14.99 a month, which is less than $1 a day, you get access to it all. Your subscription also helps keep the platform running free from censorship and corporate influence. Please consider supporting us and enjoy all of our unfiltered and thought-provoking content in return. Thank you very much, and I will see you on Unified TV.